then the shooting starts. So, all right, for John from Venice Beach, just a simple idea of non-duality, basically derived by the definition of non, which is not, and then duality, which is two. Yeah, so it's not two, is basically the premise. And so, why would that matter unless two is the two is having a lot to say with what's going on here? I mean, why would you want to say not two? Yeah, there would be it would be all one. Yeah, it would be seemingly more efficient. All is one, but this is not two because there's an activity going on, either beknownst to us or unbeknownst, a mental one, I'd say, and that activity has a, let's say, its modus operandi, which is to claim. So the mental activity is brought to know things through what's happening, let's say consciousness and contact, and then it claims what's happening to imply there's a one. So let's just boil it down to sitting here. There's seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. Yeah. And then there's reflecting or noticing thoughts and feelings or whatever, or opinions of feelings. So these activities are going on, and the mental state arises after those activities, yet claims those activities to imply something. And what does it imply? From all the claiming of the seeing, it implies there's a seer. Yeah. And for there to be a seer, there needs to be a seen. So this is the not to. Yeah. The seeing is fine and dandy. The seer seen is an interpretation of seeing, a mental interpretation. So when you were a kid, probably, if you ever were a kid, and you weren't in a violent or crazy situation, basically life was happening. Yeah, there was seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. A lot of stuff went on without any accompanied by thought, and then suddenly something grew into dominance. And so basically, there was a day I ran into a room and I thought about me running into the room. And then from that day, everything that happened was accompanied by thought, so to speak. So this would be the mental activity. So the seeing is cast as the seer and seen. This is what non-duality is negating. Non-duality is negating the seer and seen. It's not saying it's not saying there isn't an appearance of a seer and seen. It's negating the reality of the seer and seen, and it's laying that emphasis on the seeing, or that which is seen, which isn't Paul. We actually don't know what's seeing because we are that. Yeah, we can know what we're not, but we know what we are. So seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching turn into seer, seen, hearer, heard, toucher, touched, feeler, felt, and an interpretation is now developed. And that interpretation's pretty fast. It takes about a second or two. I don't know. I think there's a lot of research on it, but when an action occurs and the claiming of the action doesn't, not much time passes very quickly. So that process of being seen as the doer of whatever is being done through you, as seen as the seer, seen as the taster and stuff. I don't think there's another process in time that can come before that process. So the idea, let's say, if you're sitting on a chair to meditate, before your ass even hits the chair, your head has cast you as the meditator. So basically, now what the meditation could produce is going to be altered by, because it's always all the meditation's already being used to produce the sense of meditator. Yeah. So now you're caught in a situation. I'm going to try to meditate as the meditator out, I'm going to try to meditate myself out of whatever condition I think I'm in. But that condition you're in isn't true. It's made up. So the non-duality is really, if you hear it, it's not a call to arms. it's not it's not another way to see the battle of light and dark and stuff like that. It's just a negation of a lot of misunderstandings. And then you find yourself where you've always been. Yeah. And all that you thought was going on and had so much meaning gets abridged or revised or re-edited. And the result to me as this action figure, this experience of Paul, is that a traveling lighter stabilized. And that traveling lighter didn't mean everything went great all the time. It meant whatever life had in store for the action figure, I was able to travel lighter through it. And what do you mean by that? Well, hopefully you'll have a sense of that through your own experience. Yeah. So shit hits the fan, but now that shit doesn't smell for that long and the fan shuts off quickly or more quickly. So I'm now traveling lighter through the hallway of shit and fan. Yeah. Not with a great strategy, but a surrender to the idea of what's causing the shit to hit the fan, really. So non-duality is a simple invitation. Hopefully you've received others, and this invitation uh, is about a dinner you're already at. It doesn't say October 12th, 6 o'clock, bring something. It's basically saying you're here now. Yeah. And what wants to be here now is not you. And what doesn't believe it's here now is not you. So there's a negation of the mental presentation of you as the doer, the thinker, the feeler, the haver, the long-lasting, independent, separate entity. There's a loss of interest in that, and then there's a gaining of interest in what? I don't know. You'll find out. But that presence that you were hopefully trying to find by managing causes and conditions, you'll sense that you are that presence. Yeah, yeah. So the seeker and the sought is now the seeker is the sought. It's very simple, really. So, yeah, that's basically how I see it right now, the idea of non duality. A lot of times when people enter non duality, hear this idea, they hear it just like they've heard every other idea, which is I'm going to use non duality to improve myself or get somewhere that I believe I'm not or do whatever. There's always some kind of utilitarian look at it from this premise of Paul. Uh, if you stick with non-duality, it quickly turns away from the goal that, that wants to be arrived at, but it starts looking at the one who's entertaining that goal and seeing you're not that, therefore the goal is readily available right now. Yeah. So what you are looking for is what's actually looking right now. Yeah. So uh, it's like a rearrangement a lot because the mental logic makes complete sense when you're in it, but if you see it from outside of it, it's insane. Yeah, it's really like the logic of bizarro world. Everything is ass backwards. We're trying to get out of what we're not in, and we're trying to get into what we're not out of. It's that extreme. So, uh, that which is causing this, let's say the confusion isn't going to lead us out of the confusion, obviously, as Einstein said. So, yeah, this is the message. There's nothing new in non duality for 2022. There's not going to be a new version coming out on January 1st. It's basically an invitation uh, to question really how things are heard, not what you're hearing, but how they're heard. If you're hearing the message as what you're not, uh, the what you're not as one, so to speak, it's already neutered the message because now what you're not will try to become what it thinks it is, which is just reinforcing what you're not. And it just goes on and on and on. When this chain or this loop gets broken, you'll know the problem from the relief of it. Yeah, you'll be relieved of the bondage of self, and then you'll see the activity of the bondage of self was basically the obscuring agent. So, yep. Anyone have any questions today? Write them down and send them on chat, and we'll get back to you next week with an answer. Yeah, maybe. May take a couple of weeks. All right. So, Mike.
None yet. I was with the cat in my lap. I was remembering that talk you gave in San Francisco at the church when somebody brought their big dog, and so it made itself into the video when it went behind you and was sniffing around, having a nice old time.
Hey, I want to read something. Yeah, I want to read something from a weird book, an old booklet from about Ramana Maharshi when I was over in Tiruvannamalai, where he lived. He says they're talking about seeing this world, this activity of this world as dreaming. Yeah. So, but all of this is not to say that while you are in the dreaming, you can act as if the pain you feel there is not real. You see, very clear. Yeah. I'm going to say this again because we hear this confusion a lot at the talks. So, all right, but all this is not to say that while you are in the dream, they use the word dream, I like dreaming, you can act as if the pain you feel there is not real. Yeah. This is the stuff of, I think, the people with the spiritual bypassing stuff. Yeah. This is what they're afraid. The hunger in the dream has to be taken care of by the food in the dream. The fellow beings you found so hungry in the dream have to be provided with food in that dream. You can never mix up the two states, the dream and the waking state. Yeah. Isn't that clear? The action figure is going to react from its action figure nature. It's not your reaction. Yes.
Can you read the second part again, Paul? Read it twice.
All right. So how it comes from a riff on the dreaming. Yes. Dreaming. Okay. So let me read it again. But all this is not to say that while you are in the dream, you can act as if the pain you feel there is not real. You know how many people, myself included, they use this with alcoholism. So they hear that there is no self. So their logic is if there's no self, then there's no one who's alcoholic. And then they just start doing whatever they want, thinking they're free from alcoholism. And then they get to be a drunk non-dualist. Yeah. So this obviously was a common misinterpretation from what you're not about the depiction of this event as dreaming. Yeah, it's a common one, so common they wrote about it. Well, I can vouch for this from the years of sitting here. The mental logic shows itself by its reaction to the message. Yeah. So as soon as it hears that there is no self, it looks for advantages for the self that it thinks it is. Immediately rushes right to that. If there was a page on it, it would just go right to a page. How can self use this to get relief for self? That would be the dominant imperative. Yeah. So, but all this is not to say that while you are in the dream, you can act as if the pain you feel there is not real. Yeah. You can act. Yes. So, like some people call me up and they've had a breakup, and then they go on a 10-minute tear about, well, there's no her and there's no me, and they go on, and then at the 11th minute they just start crying. And I said, wow, great, we're at the point. Yeah, this is sort of like this. Yeah. So there's value in seeing the mental logic, because once you see the hiccup of the mental logic, you'll see a lot more hiccups in the mental logic. Really, you will. So, but all this is not to say that while you are in the dream, you can act as if the pain you feel there is not real. The hunger in the dream has to be taken care of by the food in the dream. The fellow beings you find so hungry in the dream have to be provided with food in that dream. You can never mix up the two states, the dream and the waking state. This is what the mental does all the time. Yeah? It's looking for how it wants to extract value from the one state to bring, to sort of use in the other state. Yes? Where non-duality doesn't give it that way, I don't feel. It gives it that way because it won't work. Just like I had an experience when I was younger and I was getting these ideas and they were very novel. And my girlfriend was leaving and she asked me to do the dishes. And when she came home, the dishes weren't done. And she said, Paul, why didn't you do the dishes? Well, there is no Paul. There's no Paul to do the dishes. And she just said, screw you, freaking wash the dishes. Yeah. So I went through a phase where my head was trying to use this as an advantage. It didn't work at all. And then I stuck with it. I didn't split. I stayed with this message, seemingly. Yeah? And that false foundation was seen through, and then a real foundation started to be set. Yeah. Where I was convinced of certain ideas, not for the sake of getting value out of it, just the sake of being caught in the truth. Yeah. It was just obvious that I had been trying to get out of self, this little irritant, whatever, as self. Yeah. Where I was very clear at points about the first self. I didn't see the second one. I called that Paul. Yeah. So Paul, it made complete sense for Paul to try to get out of self. Yeah. It did. But I didn't know that Paul, aka self, can't get out of self. That took thousands of attempts. And it wasn't through the failure of the attempts. The failure of the attempts was like a giant heap of something, and then non-duality flicked a match in it, and then it was illumination. Yeah, the ideas of non-duality actually walked through this little experience and flicked a lot of matches in these latent knowledge pits, and then they all went up. Yeah. And the beautiful thing is they never went out. Yeah. The material got burnt, but the light stayed there. Yes. Yeah. So I think he's going off on this idea because of the way we misunderstand stuff. Yeah. Like to me, a lot of people think, well, if there isn't a self, then the self that I am as not will travel a lot better. Well, it will, but not as self. Yeah. It will come through the action figure. It won't get stopped at self in a way, and there'll be a living and there'll be a lightness to that living. Yeah. Yeah. So did I help you? Yeah.
Where they're alluding to dealing with, it sounds like too, right there at this last part, dealing with the relative, you have to deal with the relative world in the relative way. You can't cross over these two. Like you said, you can't take non-duality into the world of the little self and expect any kind of results, and vice versa. You got to deal with the relative world in a relative way. I'm getting that too. Is that reasonable?
Yes, that's better than what I said. Yes, because of course there's always exemptions because of its mind dreaming. So mind can do whatever it wants, but as a habit, you'll see this hiccup quite a lot. Yeah, the head rushes into the newfound novel idea as if it's the one who heard it and tries to put it to good use, which is usually a disservice to you. That's what it does. So this is in that one field, there's a lot of examples of that. Yeah. people, again, getting incredibly disappointed when they get a cold, because they thought they were done with that. There was no more colds. Everything that seemed to have bothered me was going to end, and I'd be lifted above, cold free, congestion free. These are misunderstandings. We speak about it all the time here. Non-duality's understanding is really bringing into stark contrast the misunderstandings. That's all it does, really. Because in non-duality, the understanding isn't necessary. It's necessary only because there's misunderstandings. Yeah. So it has a function to negate the misunderstandings. It doesn't have much after that, unless you have a seat assignment where you're sharing about it. Then it's going to have a function. But basically, the reliance isn't on an understanding, it's reliance on seeing, awareness, let's say. And that reliance doesn't come about through time or anything like that, because it's always available at all times. It's just got a different feel than me packing an understanding, and going on my daily trip. It does. So I find that it has value based on the misunderstandings that we seem to be under. Yeah. And then once they get addressed, you sort of become dumb in a nice way. Yeah. Yeah, you do. You get dumb. I mean, I used to love to go off on metaphysical stuff, and now it's sort of like I have that dog look, and my head just goes to the side. What? What? Just you've lost me completely. I'm I'm dwelling on dog shit awareness, really. It's very, very and I feel because yeah, yeah. Once you know you've stepped in shit, you know you've stepped in shit for quite a while. It's difficult to forget. So when you're rooted in dog shit awareness, it works. It works in a good way. When you're off untethered, yeah. So yeah.
One
I
thing
was just reading.
oops. Yeah.
Yeah, my girlfriend Amelia gave it to me because it was somewhere in the living room. So I was looking at it last night, and well, here again he does the same thing. Let's. I want to talk to you here. Okay. All right. All right. So here you see a reflection. This is a famous one. You see a reflection in the mirror. You know the mirror to be the reality, and the picture in it is the mere reflection. Yeah. So when I see, let's say, Amelia's face in the mirror, I don't think she's the mirror. Yeah. Yeah. I don't, when I look in the mirror, I don't think I'm the mirror, not like in those movies where they punch the mirror. you know, I'm not moved to punch the mirror. The mirror is the mirror, and then there's a reflection or an appearance called Paul. Yeah, it's very clear. I'm not the mirror. Yeah, so here, you see a reflection in the mirror. You know the mirror to be the reality, and the pictures in it a mirror reflection. Is it necessary that to see the mirror, one should cease to see the reflection in it? Is it necessary? No. Yeah. You can come to the realization of the mirror with a reflection in it. Yeah. You don't have to, all reflections must never be reflected for me to get the mirror. You see? Now the head has that understanding because I'm drawn to the reflections, but who's drawn to the reflection? Yeah. It's not you. Yeah. You're the mirror itself. You're not. So the drawing to the reflection isn't us. Yeah. We are the mirror in a sense. We are the screen, not the film. Yeah. Even though there's an appearance of something called us in the film, that appearance in the film doesn't negate the fact that we're the screen. And it also doesn't mean for you to realize you're the screen. That whole film has to be completely erased, never to appear again. Yeah? Because you're not the character. If you keep trying to see the screen from the character, it has the ability to block you from the screen. Yes? Because the misidentification has you as the character in the movie. You're already blocked in a way to the recognition that you're not that character and you're the screen. Yeah? But when when the horse has been put in front of the cart, so now the screen, yes, and then the appearance, you don't need to have no appearances to become clear about the screen. The clarity of being the screen is available with appearances or no appearances. Yes, this is now this is twice in this one little pamphlet. So obviously, Ramana, this is a common misunderstanding. Yes, because we keep giving so much value and power to the character on the screen that it can prevent us from ever realizing the screen. Yeah. And it's not true. That's the same thing. You know, you having arthritic pain and wanting to seek release for that as the action figure doesn't disqualify you from being what you are. It's all, which is what the head's looking for constantly. It wants the absolute to be proved in the relative. It does. The relative is the touchstone to the mental state, not the absolute. Yeah. It wants to test the absolute in the relative. Yeah. Where the fact is the recognition of the relative as being relative, and then the absolute influence is complete. Yeah. It's contextual. But the sucking into the small role to try to verify the huge role in the small role's court, so to speak. Yes. Oh, I felt pain today. Completely disqualified. Yeah. Completely. I'm disqualified. Because if I'm not the body, I shouldn't feel any pain. Yeah. See, this logic is illogical. And this is why non-duality doesn't want you to look at a faraway goal. It wants to look at the head. It wants to look how things are now, how things can appear the way they appear and be given a sense of reality when they're incredibly insane if you look at them from outside. Yeah, really, they're insane. The insane of most people are trying to get into what they're not out of and trying to get out of what they're not in. It's that extreme. Yeah. So, and one of the deterrents and the stubbornness that keeps that skipping needle in the same groove is the mental logic. There's a reliance on intellect. There's a reliance on understanding to the point it's blinding us to some stuff. And so this is what happens. He comes in and says it, yeah, very, very clearly. This guy Ramesh did it with me when I visited India. Whoever was new at his talks, because he was bored talking to everyone else, they'd have to sit in a chair in front of him and he'd ask you questions. So he was asking me questions. In America, do you have a place to live? And in fact, at that point, I don't think I did, but I went along with the story. Yes, I have a place to live. And he says, "Do you work?" And I go, "Yes." When I paint houses. So he says, "Okay, when you go to work, do you have to keep remembering you have a home?" Yeah. Does being at work negate that there's a home because you're at work? No, of course not. I remember I have a home. I was there just a few hours ago. But now that but this is like the mental logic. The mental logic is if you're not in the absolute, uh, the void, therefore you're in it. You're in the other place. There's no there's no like crossbreeding, so to speak. Yeah. So he says, are you like chanting you have a home all day while painting? No, I'm painting a house. Yeah, I'm there doing that job. He says, yeah. Do you need to remember that you have a house? No, I have an assurance, yeah, a knowing that doesn't need to be jacked up by remembering, yeah, a knowing, yeah, I have a house, yeah. So there's a knowing in all of us of this fact, this truth. Going, all right, so let's say you feel like it's more accessible at satsang, or some people, let's say, on a retreat, but leaving the retreat and going back to where you live, you're not disqualified from that sense that was seemingly more available in the retreat conditions, because it's always there. It's, yeah, I don't, all right, there's 8 places you can go where you'll completely forget you have a house. Target. Walmart. Court duty, jury duty, talking to Comcast. These places, but no. But the head, you see, this is what happens. People, we used to have it a lot. Oh yeah, I feel it, but will I feel it next week? Yeah, again, yes. All right, I'm feeling the absolute right now, but I want to know now if I'm going to feel it in the relative of next week. Yes, or when's it going to stabilize? Something that's completely stable, if you draw it out in time, it can seem to be unstable. Things will seem to disappear in time, and then they'll appear again in time. But that which is appearing and disappearing has never appeared or disappeared in timelessness. Yeah. So I want you to perform the same leap you performed on the surface of the moon down here. Yeah, those guys bouncing, they could go like 30 yards up. No one's jumping 30 yards here. Well, you're negated. I mean, it's not true. Yeah. So yeah, it's a logic that I find, this is what the non-duality, the message when it's alive and gets in, just rummages through. It goes through all these files of misunderstanding and throws out some shit and then brings a lot of stuff into highlight while you're living. And hopefully before you die, you'll be convinced of certain stuff. Yeah. And then they don't come up for debate or I don't need like, uh, I've got to do a yearly maintenance, or I got to go to one semester a year to keep myself alive in the message. It's not like that. Yeah. It's just a fact that infiltrates the seeming fact and hopefully allows you traveling as the seeming fact and through the seeming fact to go lighter. Yeah, that's one of the benefits.
Can I ask a question, Paul?
Yeah.
So what I'm getting out of this, I'm seeing it seems quite obvious that whatever this is, this wonderful thing, there's plenty of room in it for the dream to come up and come down. It doesn't matter. It doesn't disqualify the knowingness or the beingness of what this is. The dream comes and it goes. You go, just because you're at work doesn't mean you forgot where you live. And
Yeah.
just like what you read in the pamphlet, there's room for that dream within. This is so vast and unending and huge. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the dream rises. Okay, great, fine. Have a good time with it. But at the end of the day, what's really real is always and forever and always has been right there.
Yes. So let's say you see one reflection in the mirror. There's still a mirror. 10 reflections isn't going to lead you to not seeing that, because it's not an amount. It doesn't have to do with numbers. Like the Course would talk about, there's no degree in miracles. There's no degree in stuff. It's either an illusion or not. It's not like, oh, it's a little bit elusive. Yeah, it's just, it is or it ain't. So, oh yes, I cannot have 6 reflections in the mirror. I'll completely forget that I'm the mirror. No, there's no, that's all coming from the reflections. Those ideas of qualification and requirements isn't coming from the mirror. Yeah. There's not a sign on the back of the mirror. The mirror can only handle 30 reflections a day.
And if you start
That's
believing that, if you start believing the character in the mirror knows anything and can tell you anything, that's where you start to go wrong. He starts to talk to you and tell you, you're just the, yeah, whatever it does, it's wrong. It's just the character in the mirror. It's not real. It's part of the dream.
Exactly. And just like the thing is, let's say you appear in the mirror. Yeah. This idea of you. And now you start seeing other people appear in the mirror. Now you're thinking you're the mirror as the appearance of the mirror. This is why we have satsang, is to correct that. Yeah. Or at least provide an understanding that corrects that. Yeah. So just because you see other people, yeah, and you're seeing them as real, doesn't make you real. Yeah. I saw this one time I spoke in somewhere, and this guy got up, very nice guy, and he was talking. We were talking about that awareness, awareness, whatever. And he says, "Oh well, I'm just sort of nonchalant, and I'm not taking anything seriously, and I just watch everything arise." But he didn't see that which said it was nonchalant and not taking everything seriously arise. He didn't see that one, which was like being the first appearance in the mirror, recognizing all the other appearances in the mirror, but not that appearance in the mirror. Yeah. This is the self-centeredness, because all of us are starting as that first appearance in the mirror. All of us. Yeah. Yeah. To you, I may be the 80th appearance, but to me, I'm the first appearance. Yeah. Which is not an appearance. I'm seeing everything else. These are fundamental, like the little like neighborhood roads of mental logic. These are the speed bumps that throw its whole logic off. They just, yeah. I remember all the time. People hear that there isn't a person, and the person in their logic is what's making everything civilized and not super fucking chaotic. So they go, well, then I'm going to go home and drop acid LSD. I said, probably not. If I'm not a person, I'm just going to lay on the couch all day. Probably not. That's still something. You're doing something there too. Yeah. You can't not do shit. Yeah. And one after another, the same logic, the same weird logic would dump what their consequence of me entertaining this I'd be a bum. Yeah. I lose all interest in anything. Who's gonna feed my kids? And so, yeah. And then this lovely lady I love a lot, her little condition was trippy. She was a twin, and she loved her twin sister so much. She was afraid that if she died, she wouldn't be whatever. Yes. If she lost a sense of self, she would lose the love of her sister. It just went on. And it was like, oh, that's a tricky one. That's pretty good. Yeah. But it's always trying to set a requirement and a condition or a clause or really a pause. Yeah. 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 This is so now you're on with, you can see it. Yeah. Let's say there's awareness in seeing. Yeah. But let's say in the relative state, maybe you need some glasses, which are like non-dual understandings. Yeah. So you put those glasses on the awareness and then it sees. It gets it doesn't need lifetime glasses. They're temporary. It corrects the seeming misunderstanding and then it starts seeing clearer. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't rely on the glasses. They were needed for a little while to correct something. Yeah, the constant inclusion of what we're not into everything. Yes, that's the head is just like when it buys a ticket, it's just assumed that other thing's going. Yeah, it's just the way it is, and it's nice to stop it and ask for its papers, really, and check it out. Really, yeah. This is traveling later. You can't, your bag is so heavy, you got a whole fucking other person in there. Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you, Lisa. This is what I was hoping with this little bit here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Anyone else, Mike?
I was that the metaphor of you having a home when you're at work, how that extends to, well, how much are you working because being at home isn't enough, or you're not convinced that have a good home. That direction of things. So like, you work a lot, you can work a lot less probably, and then there's also the aspect of you're available for recognizing when other people's needs have, like, they're feeling like they don't have a home or they're hungry, so you're not over accumulating material things because you don't need to. So that works in that direction.
Maybe it could go that way. Doesn't
No, well,
necessarily.
as the classes, as the relative experience, because that's, you don't need to help other people. You just, well, turns out I can.
Yes, yes. And well, the point is you let go of the idea, who's to say what's helping or not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a larger field than our idea. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can I interject something?
Yes, you can.
Oh, yeah. No, I just you said there was also a little like message in there about spiritual bypassing. And it reminded me of something. I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy, Mike Snyder. He's a banjo player, but he was recounting something to his dad. He said he learned real early on not to talk about non-duality too much with his parents. And they were like up in the hills.
I met him.
Have you met him?
In Carolina, yeah.
Okay. He's an interesting
he was
guy.
speaking and speaking. Yeah, he wears the overalls.
Yeah, he's a banjo player.
Banjo.
Yep. Yep. He was recounting.
I was envious of his shtick. I was.
Well, he's a performer. He's
envious of his shtick.
He's a Grand Ole Opry banjo player. He's held court there for like decades. So that's kind of his.
Yeah, I know. I spoke to him.
That's awesome. I never met him personally, but he seems very friendly. He has some funny stories. But one of them, he was talking to his dad. Yeah, his dad was there, and he said they're sitting in their cabin, and his dad says, well, if it's all an illusion, then I'm going to sit my butt right here, and I'm not going to go out and chop firewood. And then Mike said, well, Daddy, if you want the illusion of freezing your ass off, then that's fine. So talking about meeting the relative needs. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's just like we used to say, if your house is on fire and you're getting burnt up, it's not, you don't need to hear there is no house and there's no fire. You need to find where a pail of water is. Yeah, that would be helpful. Yeah, it's just they're all pointers of a certain, because there's like magical thinking, as they'd say, about how things should look at the expense of seeing how things are looking. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like you said, the idea that I would never catch a cold or something, it's just it's an interesting, just.
And you may not. Well,
sure.
Because there's no one that gets the cold.
But, I mean, it's possible. Sure, I think it's possible. But it's interesting in terms of addressing that. To your point, addressing that that magical thinking or shining light on that. Yeah.
Well, I think it goes more. It has more value in the relative than speaking about the unspeakable. I swear to God. I'd much rather point out the relative while you're appearing in it than to point out that which can't be pointed out. Makes no sense to me.
Right.
It doesn't, because all you can do is conceptualize and magically think what it means. And then that's like 4 acres of more lawn you've got to have mowed. Yeah, it's just a lot more. Yeah, because again, we're in this seemingly, we're at a seemingly, let's use the word relative, like Lisa, we're in that event, and then we're hearing about the absolute. How can the absolute from the relative? Only conceptually. There's no other way. Yeah. There can be a sense, but it didn't happen because of anything. That sense is always here. Yeah. But what you leave with is a bunch of ideas. Yeah. And yet you felt something there, or there was a sense of something. But the real value from the mental state are the ideas, the concepts, and then that's just extra weight, I feel. Yeah. It's very clear that which we are, or you want to call God, whatever, is indescribable, incomprehensible, whatever. And yet, why? So why would we spend a moment in this relative event, describing the indescribable? Let's just describe the describable with the pointing of negation. Yeah, that's the message, really. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you do that so well. It's that we have to question the unreliability of the mind and its little sneaky antics and all the different ways it has of tying you around an axle. I mean, that's what you pointed out to me in the past, and start to watch how crazy the mind is and start to question everything then. And it starts to fall apart. It will fall apart.
Totally. And the thing is, one of the beginnings of it falling apart is to see it as mind, small m mind, not your mind. Yeah. The ownership is reneged, which is awesome. Once the bill of goods, or the title has been surrendered, then real clarity starts happening. Yeah, because when it's yours, you're blind. There's a lot of blindness in that. Yeah. To make something yours, you've got to neuter it, really, or it would be something else, and that wouldn't be able to be controlled. So the mental state wants to neuter information and make it knowledge that it has. And in AA, we call it self-knowledge avails us nothing, which is an incredible statement, because there's a lot of value put in knowledge. But if that knowledge is claimed by self, this idea of the independent, separate thing, it's not going to avail you to any freedom from self. It's going to actually reinforce a bondage to the idea of self, because you're believing in its processes. There's faith in its processes. I can think myself out of this situation. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of that. That's why it's mostly the idea of non-duality brings that shit that's hiding in plain sight out into the open. You can recognize it finally as not you, as an activity at least, or as an activity that has no volition before it. There's no you that's doing or causing the activity. There's an activity that implies a you. Yeah, but there's no you that's doing it. That's the real relief, because most people's their chaining to suffering is based on ownership, really. Yeah, this is my pain, this is my this is my that. They want to cut out the that, and they want to get relief on the before, but the chain is in place. That's the link. Yeah. If you don't like what comes after, look at that, because the my is the bonding of that which comes after to the imaginary before. So now it's my problem, my this, my money. Yes, yeah. So you can see it. You can see the stuff. They're not, maybe you'll be called to action. Most of how it happened with me was not. There's a seeing of it, and then that's like the race has already started. You don't have to follow it. Yeah, it just does its thing, and then you realize a lot. It just downloads. You don't acquire it. You don't pull anything in. It's not like I've got to study this. No, there's a receiving of the message. The message does stuff. Yeah. And then you start recognizing the value being translated into the relative, which is to me encompassed by the statement traveling lighter. That's basically what we're talking about. Because in the relative, the only value awareness has is to promote a traveling lighter, because there's not much emphasis on awareness here. That's right. That's why awareness has value. In awareness, there's no value of awareness. Yeah. But here, where we seem to be completely unaware, there's value. Yeah. Yeah. And to me, it's a traveling light. It's not amassing incredible knowledge or an accumulation of epiphanies and peak experiences and shit. It's traveling lighter, a loss of interest in the subject that's masquerading or appearing as an object. That's the non-duality. Yeah. So, yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
I love what you said, that it's like the first crack in the armor of the I'm somebody that did something. When you first kind of get that, you see that realization, then it starts to take care of itself. It starts to deconstruct on its own. It's kind of what you were alluding to. There's nobody there that can actually do that. In other words, it just starts to happen. And like you said, the only benefit of it to the relative world is traveling lighter. It's beautiful. And it takes, sometimes it happens overnight, and sometimes it takes time. It's been a process here for sure. It's nowhere near complete. I'm not saying anything like that, but that one little chink in the armor, and it might seem like a small thing. Don't discount it. It's the beginning of something. Don't get lost in, oh, it should be some big, huge Kundalini bullshit. No. I mean, maybe that was, yes, maybe that will happen, but no, it's not. I don't think it's necessary.
I'll tell you, the huge, and then having that huge seemingly stop or get lost motivated tons of seeking. It's the small that's reliable. I had things happen, and then I didn't. When I appeared again, it wasn't the right platform. So after a while, that basic invitation just to stay and stop, what promoted by the claiming of the mental state, promoted more seeking. Yeah, I had to get back to that or whatever, and then I had to go through some crazy events to realize the reason why I couldn't get back to it is because I never left. I was missing that understanding until it hit me, and then on having never left explains a lot. Yeah. So, yeah. All right, Mike. Anyone else there?
No hands raised. Jump on in if you want.
I'm so happy to see everyone here. It's nice, very nice. Oh, Sarah.
Alan raised his hand. Hi, Sarah.
Who?
Hi,
Alan.
Paul. Hi, Mike. Been a while.
Don't tell us where you've been, Sarah. I don't want to hear it.
I'm back in London. Horrible, man. It's terrible. So no more jealousy.
Well, if it's any consolation, you don't look like you're in London. You look very happy and joyous.
I'm trying.
You may be in London, but you're not of London.
It's just because it's the meeting. It makes me feel happy. It's like a saving grace. Yeah. In Greece, it was on at 1 a.m. So I buckled, you know, I didn't end up coming as much, but it's, yeah, that's the best thing about being back in the UK is the meeting's not so late.
Ah, good.
Yeah.
I'll take
Thank
any
you for,
compliment.
thank you for, it's lovely because I wasn't signing in for so long. And as soon as I signed in, you were saying the exact same stuff. And it's just a relief, you know? It's never anything new, and yet it's just a complete relief. It's like things have gone a bit crazy in the world, and sometimes having that, I don't know, just the reassurance that the action figure, however mental it gets, it's still just the action figure is such a, it's just so precious. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Yes. Yep. We're like the mailman, rain or shine, holiday or no.
It's amazing.
We
Christmas
show
Day. Yeah, I love it. So cool.
I don't care about anything. I don't care
Yeah.
about these.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the best present I can get is by sharing, really. Tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. We learned something in recovery. It says, you know, you can't, you have it by giving it away. Yeah, it's a beautiful direction. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. All right, Mike. Anyone else?
Yes, Alan. Come on.
Alan. Hey, Alan.
Jamie, my brother Jamie here.
Oh, Jamie. Nice to see you, Jamie.
Hey,
We caught two Olsons in one.
yeah, the Olsen brothers.
Wow.
I got a question.
They have a
I had,
statement in Italy.
in meditation where my mind separated, and it I just seen it away from me, and it was kind of like, as it was away from me, I thought like, oh, okay, there's that action figure that you're talking about. And it was really freeing, you know. I mean, it was, but then, you know, slowly it came back. I just watched this mind that was talking out here, you know, the thoughts. And then it slowly came back. And so, you know, back to the story and everything. But
all right, one time it's going to shift and won't come back.
yeah, that's my question. Is it just going deeper, or just, I mean, is it gonna separate like that again, or I mean, is it like,
you'll have the joy of finding out? Yeah,
because my brother said
maybe
that
all you needed maybe was that one example, and then things will trigger. Yes, maybe other ones will show up, and then there's a momentum in time. So if a stone's rolling down a hill without any interruption, it's going to build up some speed, yes, and have more impact. So this is what starts to happen. Yeah.
okay.
You're not trying to get anything, and then there's a lot of getting. Yeah. Yeah. It's because the way you're going to get is by not getting, so to speak. Yes. So when you lose interest in all those ways, a lot of the stuff that seemed to be out of your grasp become readily available. Yeah. It's funny how things work. Yeah. So just see what happens. Yeah.
Okay.
I had that once, but it was after I shot a heavy dose of cocaine. Yeah. So I was in a bedroom at my dealer's place. My girlfriend was there. She was in the other room. I had a big bag. He gave me a big bag of very high end. So I went in the room and shot it myself. You know, I didn't want to share it with anybody. I shot it and I overdosed. Yeah. And so I was on the floor and I lifted up So I saw the action figure, and I lifted up, and I was, whatever, 9 feet, 12 feet, doesn't matter. And then I could hear in the other room, people were asking, "Where's Paul?" My girlfriend and stuff. And then they went in the room, and there I was on the ground. And so all these people, all jacked up, were figuring how to get the body, Paul's body. There wasn't a lot of love shown. They were like, "What are we gonna do? This is a big problem. He's dead." So I got a strange view of a number of the people in the room that I carried with me when I came back. I was sort of pissed. But then I stayed up there for a while. They were doing it. Then it just was like, here was a picture of Paul with no animating principle. And then there was this aspect, and then it sort of got in line, and then I came back. Yeah. But with the knowledge, who the hell was talking about getting rid of my body? Which incited a huge amount of paranoia around these people, which ended me getting arrested. My girlfriend called the cops on me, and when I left the building, they were there waiting for me. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. That's a long story. So count your blessings. You're on a nice couch and everything is chilled out.
Yeah.
I'm serious. But I feel really, without that whatever energy, this is just a dead picture. Yeah. It's an inert thing. It's an appearance. What gives it life isn't of it. Yeah. Even that head that was talking about you was not from you. It was being kept alive by it. Yeah. By that which is existing. Yeah. And then it came back and lined up, and now here you are again.
Yeah, here I am.
But hopefully you realize something. You realize, like when I was young, my father died when I was 9, and they brought me to the funeral. It was in a mortuary house, and there was a wake, yeah, and people could go visit. It was an open casket, and my mother asked me if I wanted to see him. I didn't want to see him, but she brought me up there, and I looked, and I realized that wasn't him. Yeah. Yeah, the body was there, but I didn't see what I was really calling my father wasn't there. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty profound for a 9-year-old. It wasn't able to be applied yet. Yeah. I saw it as him, but I didn't see it as me. Yeah. But I saw that, hey, that ain't Dad. That was clear in like a second. Yeah. So something has that knowledge inside. It's going to work it. And yeah, that's the joy of this stuff. You see what happens. Yeah. You see what happens. You don't run ahead of the news. You get the news. Yeah. 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 So
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah. And this idea, yeah. You have to feel it, that there is, like I just heard this astrophysicist today. They shot this telescope into space called the Webb telescope, and it was pretty interesting. And he was talking about how, when you see something, obviously the light of that reflection took a second or half a second to get to your brain to see it. So you're never really seeing anything as it is. Yeah. Where we are a reaction, or we are an interpretive reaction. Yeah. The action figure. We're never on the pulse of life. We miss everything by a half a second or something, because the light that's bouncing back to tell us there was a person or this or that there's a speed of light. It's in time. It's moving, and you can see that kind of stuff. You can recognize what you're not. You can from what you are. You hear a lot about it all day, but now you're holding it in a different way. You're not they're talking about me. No, they're not. They're talking about what I'm not. Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm now is, didn't you have that feeling that when you go to work or something and then, you live through the day and then you got home and then the head would tell you you had a terrible day. Yeah. And you would think that if you were there all day, you would have a defense against that interpretation. If it was, or, yeah, it's true, I did have a terrible day. But no, we just listen to the head. The head says you had a terrible day. You start acting as if you had a terrible day because you're out to lunch. Yeah. We're living as an interpretation. Yeah. And what we're relying on to interpret everything is not reliable. It's just that system. It's like the Course in Miracles says, the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. That's what it does. It doesn't interpret to awareness. It interprets to the body. Yeah. It's called self-centeredness. That's what it is. So it takes a lot of information, collates it to fit the body story. Yeah. So now you see people are getting caught in like informational loops. Yeah. They don't hear anything other than these similar opinions that constantly get reinforced. That's just mimicking what it's like in the head. Yeah. You're just in a loop of propaganda about Paul all day. Yeah. So we're just seeing it mimic out there. Yeah. And seeing how crazy people can get. Well, we're past that point. This is what's been happening in our little theater for a long time. Yeah. We're relying on something that's not reliable. And it tells us if we abandon it, it's going to be the end of us. It just uses incredible amount of threats. You know what I mean? So basically, people worry about shit. It's not people, it's the head. The head worries about shit as a tithing mechanism, so the big shit won't happen. Yeah. So I'm just going to worry about all day because I'm hoping it'll keep the big thing I'm really worried about. Way, it's like an extortion racket. I got, I got, I got Don Paul running a racket. I'm going to get protected. I may not know much, but I'm feeling secure. Yeah. It's freaking insane. And the thing is, it's tough to get a possibility in there without having it neutered by the time it arrives. Yeah. That's why repetition is helpful. That's why having these talks every week is helpful, because it may be able to be blocked, but one time it's going to get through. Yeah. It's going to wiggle underneath the mental door and it's it's going to get through. I have complete faith in it. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think after satsangs, I didn't do much? I didn't go on retreats to meditate it or to soak it more in. I just heard satsangs. Yeah. And then things started to fall. The chips fell and the dominoes fell. And they fell and hit other dominoes. And things got triggered just from hearing the message. Yeah. Yeah. That's why we do this. Because this is how it worked with me, seemingly. I didn't meditate myself into a condition. I didn't.
So were a lot of the songs for you, Paul, were a lot of them negating type messages as opposed to, oh, this awareness always describing what can't be described? Or was it like this, like your negation process?
It was negation. I'll tell you, I had a lot of peak experiences and they had been branded with my name on them. They had been neutered. They'd been encased on the fucking mantelpiece. Yes, they signified something that was fucking empty. It was like walking into a breakfast nook and there was boxes of every cereal around the world, but there was nothing in the boxes. There was no nutrition. It was just looked like I had a great breakfast situation, but it wasn't. Yeah, that's how it felt. Every flaw that I felt was secure just was collapsed under, to the point I realized something. You know, I realized the only certainty is uncertainty, obviously. Yeah. You can't know what you are. If that's the drive, it's misdirected. You can know what you're not. You can. And the knowing what you're not only has one real goal, and that's seeing it's not you. That's the point. Yeah. That's the point. The knowledge, its efficacy ends when the recognition on having never left dawns. Yeah. 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 You don't have to go over your ferry trips to the other shore, because now on having never left, then it worked. Yes. Something has been established now. Now there's another response to that. Yeah. And we don't try to put out any way or form of how that's going to look, because that would be crazy. Mind, big mind, dreaming itself out of the dreaming, which is appearing to use what's relative to dream oneself out of the relative, meetings, you know, whatever, yeah, can do it or have it appear to look like it did it any way it wants, because it's what's dreaming. There's no rules or regulations. Once these misunderstandings are seen through, there's no requirements or rules. It doesn't go any specific way. It just does what it does, but there's a great loss of interest in the narrative around Paul, the interpretation of life, and there's a living of it. Yeah. Like almost like that thing with Jesus. You have to become like a child again. There's a quality in that, yeah, that becomes paramount, not some way back there, but people that I'm with, sick of hearing me point out, that's so beautiful, that's so beautiful. They're on their fucking iPhone. They don't give a shit. I'm just looking around. Fuck, this is unbelievable. Yeah. They don't want to hear it anymore. So, you know, look at that. I've never seen it that way. Yeah. So, yes. That's why that's how it is here in Zen Bitch Slap. It's because it was a slap, you know? It was a series of slaps that brought me back to my senses, so to speak. Yeah. 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 So, anyone else, Mike?
No hands up.
Oh, hey, let's end, I think, soon.
Okay.
I don't even know. Yeah. Oh, man. I'm so disappointed. I thought the satsang was going to take the congestion out of my sinuses. There's no truth in this.
No, you're good.
My sinuses are just as congested as before. They're even more so because I haven't thought about them till now. Now I'm thinking about them, they're more.
Good day. Remember Paul Harvey?
Mm-hmm. Good. It's funny. That's what I had years of going to this commitment I had in recovery, where a lot of the changes were happening on the go. Yeah. Like I'd be going to these things I led, these seminars, and they'd be changing just by what was happening. And I remember 16 years of Monday nights. If I was in America, that's a lot of Monday nights, a lot of different relative conditions I was in. And it didn't matter whatever condition I was in, that which was coming through me came through. Yes? It was a very convincing demonstration. Let's put it that way. Yeah. I saw that how little relevance the action figure has concerning this. I would say 0 almost, but you don't want to cut it off completely. So you throw a bone or two here and there. Yeah, so hey, all right, whoever, whatever, anyone else?
Still no.
Yeah? No?
No.
All right, great. Let's say hello, goodbye. Mike, again, thank you for showing up. I really appreciate everyone showing up today. It's nice. We have, Gary and Judith are in the tent. Did we lose John Olson? No, there he is. Nice to see you, John. Venice, yes. So it looks like there's a big tent and then a little tent inside.
That's right. My kitchen is inside the big tent. My bedroom is inside the little tent. My dining room. That's right. My dining room is inside the big tent.
And the oven. Got an oven in here too. A real oven.
Oh, great.
Good
to see. Nice to see you all. Yes.
A little tiring though. Oh, camping. Yeah. I have running water. I'm the one running back and forth with a bucket.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we'll delay our arrival.
Yeah, that's great. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
Yeah. All right. Good. See you guys. Hey, Richard in the UK. My main man, Richard. Yes. I never knew there was spiritual porn until Richard sent me a book of some drunk Zen somebody. I was thinking of sharing out of it one time. It could have been the end of my career, probably. So I didn't. Yeah. Thank you, Richard. No. We got David from Melbourne. Nice to see you, Dave. Yep. We got Robert from New Zealand. Nice to see you guys. Yep. Kenneth from Vancouver. Yeah. We got Tyler. I don't know where Tyler's from, but nice to see you, Tyler. Yes. We got Johannes from Germany. We got Dave. Dave is from America somewhere, I think. Oh yeah, he's in Minnesota or Michigan.
Michigan, you got it. Yeah.
Yeah. We got Tommy there. I know he's from Ireland. We got Sarah. I won't mention anything. We have Lisa. Thank you, Lisa, for this trail today. Yeah, nice trail. Thank you. We have, there's Miss Amelia, the love of my life. Yeah. She's thinking what kind of gluten-free desserts I can make. I can only hope. So we got Alex from the Hudson Valley. Fantastic. Hey, Walter, nice to see you. Merry Christmas, Walter. Rich A, there he is. Nice to see you, Rich. We got the Olsen brothers. Yeah. Both alive in one room. There you go. Yeah. We got Roman from Germany. Nice to see you. Tariq from New Jersey. There he is. We got Chris. Nice to see Chris, as always. Stefan on Having Never Left. We got Chris from Mammoth Lakes. Nice and warm. He's got the wood stove, everything going. Very nice. Yeah. We got Mickey, the Had a run-in with David G. Survived. That's good. That's very nice. We got Not Jack from Seattle. Yeah. Wow. We got Steve from Germany. We got Ash and Jyoti, how are you? Nice to see you. Sabeth. Let's see. Sue K. We got this Jack P. Is that Jack P? Nice to see you, Jack. Yep. Everyone else, see you guys later. We'll be around. What's today? Saturday? Tuesday. Well, it's all on Zen Bitch Slap and on the event page. I'll see you guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks,
Mike.
Thanks,
Bye,
Mike.
guys.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Merry Christmas.
Bye, Alex.
You did.